Welcome to Wednesday. It's July 23rd, 2025. This DayWeather podcast being brought to you by the Advocates Injury Attorneys. If you've been injured in an accident, don't face it alone. Get an experienced local Wyoming attorney on your side. Free consultations at wyomingadvocates.com or call 307-800-1952. You deserve an advocate. Well, we're going to see a combination of monsoonal moisture and a cool front and daytime heating and upslope. All of those things going to come together to produce quite a bit of weather across some areas, especially east of the divide for today and also tomorrow. So what we're likely going to see is some cooler temperatures and some wet conditions in some areas, as the monsoonal moisture push is going to be intersecting a cool front. Now, we're going to see that drier air come in Friday and through the weekend. That's going to reduce thunderstorms, not eliminate them. We'll show you kind of what will happen with that drier air coming in for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, probably lasting into Monday. But then we see another surge of monsoonal plume, a bigger one. I think the one next week is going to be a little more widespread and a little bit deeper. And that could go into the first weekend of August. And as we mentioned in earlier podcasts this week, when you look at climatology, usually that last 5 to 10 days of July, the first 10 days or so of August is when the monsoon does tend to be the deepest. And you see it in the air, like you're seeing there in Sterling, Colorado, near the courthouse yesterday. And some mammatus clouds with some weak thunderstorms that rolled through southeastern Wyoming yesterday. You don't have to have severe weather to get mammatus clouds, as Jan pointed out in this photo. And another shot of mammatus clouds in southeastern Wyoming yesterday. Just a little bit of light rain for frontier days, but could be a different story for today and tomorrow there. And you can see the monsoonal moisture coming in layers, as we can see from the Upper Platte Valley south of Saratoga, Wyoming yesterday, and all the way back into the Sierras, some fair weather clouds back there. California experiencing a cool summer. In fact, San Francisco's had its coolest start to summer since 1965. It's just the way the weather pattern has set up this summer there. So no one complaining about the heat in California this summer, and that'll probably continue here for a little bit longer. There's another shot of some mid-level moisture in Utah. And there again, you can see it coming in layers all the way up into Casper. Imagine that, a flag standing out, straight out there in Casper. Not too bad with the wind. Pretty shot there. The satellite photo this morning looks a lot like what we showed you yesterday. The moisture, you can see it very easily right here. And the patches, the brighter patches, the thunderstorms. And we can see that when we take a look at radar here in a moment. We have some overnight, some nocturnal thunderstorms here over South Dakota and North Dakota, the northwest areas of Nebraska, and then down into Texas and New Mexico, activity continuing into the nighttime hours. There you can see it. These overnight and early morning showers and thunderstorms will continue to grow through the morning hours, then will redevelop this afternoon and this evening. So you can see kind of where the action's been. It's in that ring we talk about going around the high. That little notch, well, here it is. It's moved out of Texas, and we can see the little swirl, very subtle, upper level low, and it's coming up just like this. As it does so today with daytime heating, you can see it's generating the instability out ahead of it. As it moves northwestward into Nebraska, eastern Colorado, and western Kansas today, along the edges and ahead of that little wave is where the action's going to be. And then by noon today, you can see the little notch right there. Then it's going to go up and over and around the high. What's complicating things and making things a little bit more interesting is this little guy right here. There's a bit of a trough and there's a frontal boundary with it. And it has already pushed a cool front down the front range of Montana and Wyoming and into far northern Colorado this morning. So that's turned winds around to a more east-northeast direction, pushing air uphill. At the same time, we've got subtropical moisture coming up from the south and a little bit of colder air aloft with this guy right here. So you can see the cool front boundary as of 6 a.m. this morning will be right along the Colorado border. By then, it'll probably be heading down the I-25 corridor. Now, it's subtle. It's not a dramatic change in temperature, but it's enough. And it's enough to shift the wind directions around. So everything is kind of converging into one area. And this area is where you see the brighter colors of the showers and thunderstorms that will be redeveloping this afternoon through evening. And you can see it's along and east of the divide here is where the action's going to be. And the concentration of moisture will make some of these showers and thunderstorms heavy rain producers. Can't tell you exactly where, but there will be pockets where these thunderstorms will be very effective at producing quite a bit of heavy rain at times, and they're not going to be moving very quickly as well. And not only will they just dissipate in the late afternoon hours, but into the evening, they're going to continue out further into the plains. This is between 6 p.m. and midnight. And then into the morning hours, we could see a cluster of thunderstorms right along the Kansas-Nebraska border, then heading east-southeast as they rotate around the high. And then there's plenty of moisture left behind for Thursday. And we'll take a look at that here in a moment. So here's your strong thunderstorm risk today in the darker green and the yellow shaded areas. There will be some strong thunderstorms. I think the biggest risk is that heavy rain threat, but also some hail and some very strong gusty winds. Now the moisture remains for Thursday. This is by noon Mountain Time Thursday. You can see the lighter color green, the white, and the darker green. So you're going to have showers and thunderstorms hung up along and east of the divide again, while dry air is punching into the deserts. That dry air punching into the deserts will keep those areas quiet as we get into the Thursday. But Thursday, it's kind of a repeat, really. There's a little bit more of a southward shift along the frontal boundary here. You can see the enhancement of the thunderstorms. But from the Montana border through Colorado, in New Mexico, into Big Bend country, there's going to be heavy shower and thunderstorm activity. Again, big rain producers in some areas. Cooler, drier air punches into the Dakotas up here, so that will limit the thunderstorm chances and push them south. So there's your risk. Probably will have a narrow strip of yellow along the front range areas here showing up with tomorrow's Storm Prediction Center update. Then as we go out a little bit further, as we get into the weekend, the high shifts a little bit more to the east, and there's that drier air we showed you right here that's going to circulate through. So what that will do, that drier air, there's that punch. This is by late Friday. The thing to remember is that around the drier air, you're still going to get showers and thunderstorms, and also the white is plenty of moisture to see showers and storms. So you're still on the margins Friday and Saturday, still going to have some showers and thunderstorms. But as it expands north and east by Sunday, this is by noon Sunday, you can see the ring right there very beautifully. So for Montana, parts of the Pacific Northwest, North Dakota, the upper Midwest, you're still going to be active in the thunderstorms. But the Central Rockies, the southwestern United States, will see a break in the action. And this is by Sunday. So you can see the ring showing up very nicely where the moisture is. Where the moisture is, you're going to get the afternoon and evening thunderstorms. And there's your dry pocket right there. Then as we go and head into next week, the high is no longer here. It's reforming back to the further to the west. So what that will do, that will start the next cycle. So basically, we're kind of just resetting everything. Monsoons come in pushes. They come in slugs. There's always breaks between them. And then the next push comes up. We've got a good setup, a good circulation pattern that's going to start that flow of air back up through. And then when we take a look at the precipitable water forecast for Tuesday of next week through the following weekend, you can see it comes back up again. And it's going to continue to concentrate this monsoonal moisture flow kind of in the same areas that we're seeing this week. And when you put together and take a look at some of the modeling that goes out for a couple of weeks, there's some pretty good agreement. This is all the way through August 5th. We can see where the high pressure is going to want to be, so we don't have nearly as much moisture there with the high. But the European model, which we're showing you here, is just showing that continuing funneling of moisture. And so a lot of moisture here for the north central plains and the Dakotas curving back into the northwest Corn Belt. Look at this area here. This is interesting because all the major model suites are showing a concentration of what could be a lot of rain in southern Nebraska and northern Kansas into parts of Missouri and Iowa. We'll just have to keep an eye on that. But also a robust slug of moisture going back through here as well. Now, the further west you go into the Great Basin, the moisture is just not going to get to there. So you're going to be drier. This is the European model. This is the AI version. So there's some pretty good agreement. There's some slightward shifts of the axes of heavier moisture, but it's saying the same thing. And the GFS, the American model, is seeing the same thing, but notice the GFS is much further west into Arizona, western New Mexico, and Utah, while the European AI and the regular European are more eastward. So we'll have to see. The monsoon will do this. It will wiggle west-east, and we'll just have to see what happens here. But the overall writing message, the theme between now and the first weekend of August, is for more monsoonal moisture to come on through. It just depends where the axis of the deeper moisture ends up and where you are. But one thing that is definitely showing up is this part of the country right here is going to be very active. There's just going to be frequent episodes of showers and thunderstorms, really day and night. And that will put throttle back temperatures. In fact, this is the 10-day period here all the way through the first day or two of August. So we showed you earlier that the long-range modeling was just too warm up here, and that's certainly what's going to be the case. The heat is going to be down here and in the east, and we continue to have the coolness in the far west. And we see that with the AI version, which is even cooler. And it's cooler because it sees the clouds and it sees the better opportunities for precipitation. So as we go into the last days of July into early August, the Intermountain West and the adjacent high plains, yeah, you're going to be warm and muggy, but the real summer heat is going to be bottled up more to the east. Have yourself a good Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow.